Bear down, Chicago Bears. A lot of weird signals coming out of Hallis Hall over the last 24 hours. We've had positive, mildly positive, good positive news from Ryan Poles, and we've had Matt Eberflus wilding out and really kind of targeting something about Justin Fields that we pointed out has been a weakness where Matt Eberflus had said that uh, he expects for his quarterback to perform in this category. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on right now. So let's check into it. But before we do, if you like this content, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button, the bell to be notified, and remember, always bear down.
I can't wait till Friday. Everybody's getting sideways. Pass the bottle back my way. Everybody's getting sideways.
All right, guys. So Matt Eberflus yesterday made some comments that really look like they're indicating that there is a potential end to the Justin Fields saga. Now, in order for me to say it and to put it that way, then let's provide just a tiny bit of context and let's pull up the data right here so you guys can see it. This is Justin Fields, how he plays by half by quarterback rating, and all of his statistics to being okay. That looked weird. So let's not do that again. CBS Sports obviously has something going on with it. We are not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Anyway, the point to it all is that uh, in the first quarter, Justin Fields has a rating of 112. In the second quarter, he has a rating of 91.4. In the third quarter, he has a rating of 89. And in the fourth quarter, he has a quarterback rating of 53. Not a very good rating at all. And as expected, the Chicago decision is coming down to Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus. And now that they have the first overall pick, there was a question asked while speaking with the media on Tuesday. Eberflus had a pretty telling statement and asked about what he's looking for in his starting quarterback for 2024. And what he said was the wiring of a quarterback, obviously, number one is leadership. You have to be a great leader and you got to be resilient. You got to be able to handle criticism and the physical traits. That's a big part of it. All of these teams that do things at the end of the season, they have winners at the quarterback spot. Then he said the team's head coach was also asked what he's looking for and provided a more telling response. He says, I look at the guys that can operate the end of the game situations. That to me is what sets the separator. For a quarterback, really, it's all about the mental toughness to be able to stand in the pocket and deliver the ball, then also have the discernment to be able to move out of the pocket and create when it's necessary. Now, when you dissect this response and you realize kind of, he's really kind of talking about the situation with Justin Fields. When you dissect the response, you realize it's the exact opposite of what Fields has shown as a starting quarterback. For example, Eberflus noted operating the end of game situations as a big factor of this evaluation of his starting quarterback. And since entering the league, Justin Fields has thrown 16 interceptions in the fourth quarter, which is the most in the NFL since then. In fact, his overall 53.4 last year, but 61.3 passer rating ranks last among all 38 different qualified quarterbacks in the final quarter during that span. Now, we can like Justin Fields, we can love Justin Fields, but we do have to be honest about some of the statistics that we see. In 2023 alone, he had 3 interceptions on the final drive of the game in the fourth quarter, which was tied with Jordan Love for the most in the entire league. Never in Fields' career has he shown any sort of confidence in those types of situations that Eberflus specifically mentioned. So it could be a cause for concern if you're a Justin Fields fan that this could be a symbol that the Bears are moving on. Also, just coming up, Yesterday, Caleb Williams made a comment that he is intrigued by the Chicago Bears and at the top of the draft, the Washington Commanders. Former USC quarterback Caleb Williams deeply admires Michael Jordan and Walter Payton, loves deep dish pizza, and told ESPN he would be excited if the Chicago Bears made him the number 1 overall pick in the 2024 draft. Entering the combine, Williams is the favorite to be the top pick. With his first public comment since declaring for the draft, he spoke in depth about the Chicago Bears, unveiled his combine plan, and reflected on a journey to the NFL that's nearing its culmination. This is what I've been preparing my whole life for. Since I was 10 or 11, this is what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I'm at that age now. It basically feels like your whole life. I'm excited. I'm ready to get back on the football team around my teammates and my brothers, my new brothers now. If I get drafted by the Bears, I'll be excited. If they trade the pick and I get drafted by someone else, I'm just as excited. Speaking about Chicago, they have a talented team, a talented offense and defense. For anyone to be in that situation, I think they would be excited. He also pushed back on the notion that he would request a trade or wanted to play elsewhere. I'm not pushing any agenda, he said. At the end of the day, the Bears have the last say. Regardless of how I feel, I'm not pushing an agenda. Yeah, I want to go, or no, I don't want to go. I'm excited for whatever comes. Williams said he is eager for his first date with Chicago, which is a meeting planned in Indianapolis this week, and he stressed the importance of the first impression, which was yesterday, by the way. He said he was intrigued to hear about the Bears' plans and learn what the organization is like and the vision moving forward. Chicago hasn't won a playoff game since 2010. Just a constant growth and change. That's important, whether you're a quarterback or a wide receiver or a general manager or an owner of any organization. Just a healthy situation in the facilities with the players and just a place that really wants to win. By the way, he did say that he had been to Chicago one time in his life. And also, at the same time, we've got this emerging story which says that the Falcons are emerging as the Bears' best Justin Fields trade partner at the NFL Combine. Now, I don't know. I don't know if there's a real justification for this. But yesterday, Bears general manager Ryan Poles said that he would do right by quarterback Justin Fields and trade him before free agency should Chicago decide it wanted to move on from the 24-year-old signal caller. Now, what you hear right now is probably the most important thing that you could say about Justin Fields. What we now learned is that in the event that this were to happen, that it would probably be before free agency, meaning we will know and have some clarity about Justin Fields within the next 12 days. So we're now on the clock. That was the closest Poles has come to admitting that most believe is the fait accompli at this point, that the Bears will draft a number 1 overall draft pick quarterback, while Fields will continue his NFL career somewhere else. Should the Bears eventually land on that likely outcome, Poles' task will be finding the suitor for the 2021 first round selection. A quick look at the quarterback situation says that the Atlanta Falcons are the prohibitive favorites. You want to go get the best fit for your people. You want to get the best fit for your coaches, and you want to get the best fit for the city, and you want to do all those things, said Falcon head coach Raheem Morris. There's nothing ruled out. I forgot to mention trades because all those things come into play. We've really been tedious. We've really been going through the process of how we are going to acquire the best fit for us. So there is a possibility right now sitting out here. And I don't know, by the way, that any of this is accurate for just not for nothing, but there's no situation that anybody has actually mentioned that there is a trade working. There's no situation in which there's information that would indicate that the Chicago Bears are moving on from Justin Fields. There have been a few comments, and there is the Justin Fields unfollowing the Bears. There's little pieces that you can kind of press together to come up with this tapestry and make a decision based upon that. And then you have Peter King, a 40-year insider for the NFL, that said that the Bears have no intention of moving on, that they're going to trade the first pick and they're going to stick with Justin Fields. So you have that. Then you have Merrill Hodge coming out and saying that he thinks Caleb Williams is prohibitively a bust and that he's not going to be able to make it in the NFL. He doesn't have the mental makeup for a star quarterback. And I don't know that I agree with that, but he's saying it, and he's somebody whose opinion, position, he's somebody that you should take seriously when they talk, whether you like what he has to say or not. Does that mean that he's right? No, it does not. Does that mean that he's wrong? No, it does not. What it means is he has an opinion, and you should listen to him and pay attention to his opinion when he gives it, because it is important and it is valuable. And for everybody who says, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about, well, he knows what he's talking about a lot of times. And does he get it always right? No, but he's pretty adamant at this one that he doesn't see it coming. He doesn't see it happening. So, we'll see how this plays out. Make sure, by the way, that you hit the like button on the way in. Helps push me up in the algorithm, gets more people in here, and that certainly helps me tremendously. And all I ask is it's free of charge. Just hit that button. So anyway, on to it. I don't think that in fairness to Justin Fields, by the way, it should be noted that Justin Fields has already said he really doesn't want to play in that environment. He's not looking to play for Atlanta because he feels like he's going to be put in a poor situation with his friends and family, and he's going to have, people asking for tickets and all kinds of different stuff that he really didn't want to have to deal with. So it's possible that they're wrong. It's possible that it's not even close to being right. But the Bears, the Falcons have emerged as somebody who, according to insiders, might have interest. Okay. And should be noted here, a league source told NBC Sports Chicago that the Falcons have checked in with the Bears about Field. It's unclear how those conversations went, but there's a reason to expect them to pick this up in Indianapolis. So now we'll see whether or not that remains as something that could happen. And then finally, in the news is, and this is not happening, by the way, there's no way in hell this is going to happen, but there was an article in Crane's Business Journal that said that the Bears and the Sox were told to team up on stadium financing pitches. And I don't know why something like this would be a thing, but they're being urged by the state legislature to come up with a dueling plan, or to come up with one financial request for their stadium proposals, as opposed to having like dueling stadiums. Now, for record, it's known right now that there is a space available on the Chicago River that the White Sox prefer and would like to try to make a play to move to. And it's also known that the Chicago Bears are looking at the South Lot as a potential spot, and they want to have it graded and find out whether or not that's available. But legislatures are now trying to put this into the context of, look, you guys got to come together and you got to work out a deal to make both of these happen, or you're going to be competing against one another. And listen, it is very, very simple. If they don't happen, then the Bears are out. The Bears are moving to Arlington. We already know that. They have the property. So if this is a game of bluff, then you'll be driving to Arlington to watch the Chicago Bears going forward, and it will not be in the downtown. So I would say that the state legislator should be careful in what they're trying to accomplish here, because I don't think that either one of these. And look, there has been talk. I'm not saying that it's real. I'm not saying it's legitimate, but at the end of last year, there was talk about the White Sox wanting to get out of Chicago. So, and I don't know the reality of that, but I heard Nashville at one point. I heard there were a couple different teams that have no franchises that the Chicago White Sox are thinking like maybe we could just. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't look likely to me, but it is out there, so we're going to have to talk about it at least. But wishing both of them well. But don't really care what happens with the White Sox. I'm not a big baseball fan. I like baseball, don't love baseball. It's not football. So, but now let's get into free agency right now, and let's start talking about what this free agency or what this is going to look like. And Windy City Gridiron came up with a pretty good idea of what they think this offseason is going to look like. They did a mock offseason, if you will, and they did an NFL draft exercise. And the first thing that they decided to do was franchise tag cornerback Jalen Johnson, which, of course, if you remember, I had a little argument with somebody yesterday about this. And I said they're going to franchise him because it's like $18.8 million rather than give him $25 million. But they're going to sign him for $25 million a year. And the comment here says, I feel confident that Johnson will remain with the Bears one way or another. A franchise tag seems like a safe bet to make sure he doesn't hit the open market, but I eventually think the two sides get a deal done. Ryan Poles may have to fork over a few extra $1 million per year than he would have if he got this deal done sooner, but it means retaining arguably the top young talent on the roster. Then you pay what you need to. Also, they're looking to re-sign Patrick Scales to a 1-year, $1.4 million deal because, I mean, he's the best long snapper that's going to be available, and he's still able to perform at a high level. So next step in the roster moves for the Bears would be to cut Travis Homer with a pre-June 1st designation to save $1.88 million. Homer is a solid special teamer and decent enough depth at the running back position, but you could get an upgrade over him cheaper in the draft, assuming that you also don't extend Deonta Foreman. The Bears would be smart to let Homer walk and go cheaper for their third string back. Now, if you remember, the Bears were using 4 backs this past year. So I think that there's going to be another. If you do this, by the way, then you're almost guaranteeing that you should be trading down in the draft and not taking that number 1 overall pick in order to make this move that they're talking about make sense. Okay. The reason for that is because now you have to draft 2 running backs if you're going to try to save money. If you're going to try to save payroll, then you have to draft 2 running backs because you can't just go third string and just leave it at that because you don't have your 4th string now. And your 4th stringer should be a special team guy like Travis Homer. So we'll see what they do, but that says that heading into free agency, they will have cap space of about $58.54 million, and that's off of, with these roster re-signings, the original starting number was $78.3 million. So now in free agency, what we're talking about is the number 1. It is going to be Daniel Hunter. It's not often players of Hunter's caliber hit free agency, and with the Vikings unable to hit him with the franchise tag, the Bears would be wise to pursue him. Now, it's looking like 3 years, $65 million, $21.67 million average. ESPN has already speculated that the Bears love Daniel Hunter, and consider he's a 4-time Pro Bowler coming off a 16-sack season. That makes plenty of sense. And by the way, if you weaken your opponent and that becomes your strength, that's all to the better, I think, at least. However, he's arguably the best football of his career that he's playing right now, and he's one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. But he is 30 years old, so we'll see what happens here. But the chance to solidify that position with Hunter and Montez Sweat could give the Bears the best pass rush in the NFL that defensive coordinator Eric Washington recently promised. So I'll be looking for that move to happen. And then signing Lloyd Cushenberry, the center, 4 years at $57 million, about $14 million per year with 34 guaranteed, factoring in age and Connor's recent ACL surgery. That's Connor Williams. Cushenberry figures to be the best center in the open market. He's an ascending talent who's just 26 years old, and he's been the best pass protecting center in the NFL over the last 3 seasons. He would give the Bears an instant upgrade and a key veteran at a major need. So this looks like one of those wise moves that you might make in order to shore up that. And look, Jackson Powers Johnson probably doesn't appear to be available in this draft in any way. I can't get to him without making some serious sacrifices on draft selections in this draft. And it would be something along the lines of, I would need to, if I were looking to make this move, then I would be looking to move down from the 1 to the 2, let the Commanders take let the Commanders take Caleb Williams, and I would take Marvin Harrison at number 2, and then I would have to move down with the number 9 selection in order to get Jackson Powers Johnson. And it seems like there's still skill talent at that position that I could still get, like a Brock Bowers potentially, or a serious edge rusher that helps my situation. But I don't know, because I don't need that edge rusher if Daniel Hunter's here. So it's kind of it's in the it's kind of in the gray area right now, where I just don't know what my needs are if I'm doing this. But if I assume that this is happening here, then Lloyd Cushenberry then takes the need for Jackson Powers Johnson away from me. Then the next move would be Noah Fant. In a recent mailbag, the Bears could spend money on a tight end this offseason, $8 million a year. He's a freak athlete. He's worked under Shane Waldron in Seattle, and it feels like there's some potential here. So serving as the U to Cole Kmet's Y would give the Chicago Bears a fantastic duo to run 12 personnel with, which the Seahawks did quite a bit with the Waldron. To give a 2 tight end set, which is what Shane Waldron does prefer. Then you have the next step would be free safety. Geno Stone, you can get him for 2 years, $13 million, about $6.5 million a year. He dominated in coverage for 7 interceptions and 9 pass deflections for the Ravens this year. They have Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams already at safety, making it unlikely they will extend him. He's had his struggles against the run, but offers incredible chops attacking the ball, making him a great complement to Jaquan Brisker in the Bears defensive backfield. Jaquan Brisker not afraid to take the hit. So this could leave us open to big plays potentially, but he's also a ball hawk. And that's exactly what we want in the Chicago Bears is ball hawks. And maybe, just maybe, he'll make a tackle or two. Next up would be, and we're just going to go through a bunch of them here because these are some ideas for some lower tier guys. Not that any of these guys should be considered lower tiers. They're all NFL players, but Noah Brown, 2 years at $7 million. He was the Texans wide receiver 4, but he's a big body deep threat. Then Drew Lock, 1 year, $2.75 million as a backup to whomever the quarterback is, along with Tyson Bagent. Then you have an offensive guard in David Edwards. You can get him for like about $2 million. He's from Downers Grove, so he might be looking to return home. So that'd be a great depth position. Then you have Laviska Shenault. You can get him for 1 year, $1.5 million. He's a wide receiver to settle it up. Then you have Tim Settle. Spent the last few years with Eric Washington in Buffalo. He's a space eater and he's cheap, $1.25 million, and he can eat up some space at that tackle position and relieve Justin Jones. And if Justin Jones is going to be re-signed, they didn't mention it here, but if Justin Jones is re-signed, then a good compliment and a backup to Andrew Billingsley and the other 2 rookie-ish guys. And then this is what they have as their draft, which we're going to go into this and we're going to include it in the free agency portion here. But it says Justin Fields is going to be traded to the Giants. The Bears will receive the number 6 pick and a second round pick via the Seahawks number 47. Now, that said, this means that the Bears have traded Justin Fields and their number 9 pick in order to move up in the draft. Okay. That's the idea for what they want to do, is to move up into the draft in order to make that move. And then they have another trade where they're going to trade the 2024 second round pick from the Seahawks. And the Bears are going to get the number 2024 pick number 57 and a third round pick at 89, which is just a swap for more picks. And then the Bills would give up the number 11 and the Bears would get some lower picks. His idea is to fill the roster up with second. You'll see. Anyway, his mock draft goes like this: Caleb Williams is the first pick in the first round, and then and then later on in the first round at the number 6 selection. Now we're going to take Roma Dunze. And what he says is basically, and by the way, this is not to me, just this is opinion, by the way, and it doesn't make logical sense to me at this position, but okay, I mean, let's go with it. Roma Dunze at wide receiver, and then Rook Ororo, defensive lineman out of Clemson in round 2, Austin Booker, edge rusher out of Kansas in round 3, also Christian Hayes, offensive guard from UConn in round 3, and then in round 4, Jalen Wright from Tennessee. Boy, we've called that guy every single time as one of our backups. And then we've got Kitan Oladapo, who would be the safety from Oregon State. I wonder if he's related to Victor. Round 5 would be Taj Washington, wide receiver out of USC. Round 5 would also be A.J. Barner, tight end out of Michigan. And then Miles Harden in the 6th round, cornerback out of South Dakota. So final 53-man roster would look like this. Let's pull this up on the screen so you can see this. The final roster would be Caleb Williams as starting quarterback with Drew Lock and Tyson Bagent as the backups. Then you would have Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson, and Jalen Wright. Kerry Blasingame as your fullback. The wide receivers would be DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Noah Brown, Tyler Lock, LaVisca Chenault, and Taj Washington. Cole Kmet, Noah Font, and AJ Barnaby, your tight ends. Your offensive line would be Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Lloyd Cushenberry, Nate Davis, and Darnell Wright, with Christian Hayes, David Edwards, Larry Borum, and Jatiri Carter as your backups. Defensive ends would be Montez Sweat, Daniel Hunter, DeMarcus Walker, Austin Booker, Dominique Robinson. I don't have a problem with this lineup, by the way. Defensive tackle will be Gervon Dexter, Andrew Billings, Rukaroro, Zach Pickens, and Tim Settle. So we are moving on from Justin Jones based on this one. But linebacker will be Tremaine Edwards, TJ Edwards, Jack Sanborn, Noah Sewell, and Jalen Reeves-Maben. Cornerbacks will be Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon, Terrell Smith, Miles Harden, Jalen Johnson. It is in there twice, but that shouldn't be. Safeties will be Jaquan Brisker, Geno Stone, Ketan Oladapo, and then Elijah Hicks. And then special teams would be Cairo Santos, Trenton Gill, and Patrick Scales. And then cap space after the roster cuts would be $4.79 million. So you would still have money in this situation. So there you have it. That's the idea. So now let's get into the draft. And what we're going to do, we're going to close this out with the draft rankings before we do this. And I do this because I'm not trying to dump on anybody. I'm not trying to say what you should be doing. But when I see something like, I think Roma Dunze is better than, come on now, let's be serious here. Like this is, so we're going to look at this and look, I'm not saying, by the way, that I wouldn't like to have Roma Dunze on my roster, but to say that I should trade up and catch him in the 6th position is wild to me. Okay. And I'll show you why. I mean, obviously there's going to be needs that a team would have in order to, but CBS has done a ranking of the best players and the best prospects available. So, number 1, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the number 1 player available in this draft, followed by number 2, Caleb Williams, followed by number 3, Malik Neighbors, and then number 4, Olu Fashanu, then Quinyon Mitchell, Jaden Daniels, Brock Bowers, Drake May, Dallas Turner, Amarius Mims, Lawatu Latu, J.C. Latham, and then we have Roma Dunze, and then we have Talise Fuaga, Terrion Arnold, Byron Murphy, Joe Alt, Jared Verse, J.J. McCarthy, Jerzon Newton, Chop Robinson, Braylon Twice, Nate Wiggins, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Darius Robinson, moving up on the charts. Guys, remember, last week we were picking him up in the 2nd round every single time. It looks like he's starting to move up these draft boards a lot. Brian Thomas, Michael Penix Jr., Jackson Powers Johnson, moving down a little bit in the last couple of days. Enish Rakestraw, Xavier Worthy, Tyler Guyton, Keon Coleman, and that is the top 32 guys. So that brings us to, first of all, I just want to say it again, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors. If you have the 1st pick in the draft and you have the 9th pick in the draft and you can't find a way to get one of these 2 guys, TF is wrong with you. Why is your brain broken? Okay. That's all I'm saying. You have an opportunity to get people who make this team demonstrably superior to a lot of other teams. And you fade this because somebody said one time, I like Caleb Williams. That's nonsense to me. And if you do this, it's going to be a mistake to miss out on one of these top 2 guys. Again, I'm still going to love Roma Dunze as a receiver in the event that he happens, but not at the 6th position. I just want to stress that if he's at the 9 position, that's a 4-player stretch right there. I can make that work. But if I picked up Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison with one of those 1st picks, I don't need him anymore. You know what I mean? So let's now look at some drafts. And let's see how this went, because I did another draft today. And then here we go. So on my draft, it was incredibly simple here. I did what I do. I traded down. I got the number 3 selection. With that, I took Marvin Harrison Jr. Because that was my guy. After taking that, I then took Jared Verse with the number 12 overall pick, which I traded down, by the way, in order to make this move. And then understanding the need that most probably we would have, that we're going to need a quarterback, that maybe Justin Fields might not work out with that 53.4 4th quarter rating. I took JJ McCarthy, but look where I got him with the number 34 overall selection. It's absolutely crazy that somebody like that is available down in that position. But again, we just saw that he was ranked in the top 20 in available players. So be weird if he came down that far. But then we got Cameron Kitchen, safety out of Miami. Number 40, I picked up my center, which is Zach Frazier Then I got Tavondre Sweat, defensive tackle out of Texas. Jonathan Brooks, the running back out of Texas. And then we went with the heavy stuff. We went with the artillery at this point. Then we took Brandon Coleman, a guard from TCU. We took Christian Mahogany, another guard from Boston College. Then we took Jordan Jefferson to shore up the defensive tackle position. And again, this means we can move on from Justin Jones at this point. And then at number 190, we took Garrett Greenfield, probably a prospect that we're going to have to work on and develop from South Dakota State, coming from Division II, just like Tyson Bagent. Might have some talent, but he's going to have to get used to the speed of the NFL, and he's going to have to get used to, I mean, he's not in Division One. Players are slower, and they are demonstrably slower as a team when you look at these. Then you have the 2025 Denver first round pick, the 2025 Washington first round pick, and the 2025 New England second pick. Now, what if Denver sucks next year? What if Washington sucks next year? What if all of that happens and then you're able to take somebody like a Shadur Sanders? What if what if you're able to pick up one of those quarterbacks that you might have missed the first time or the second time, or whatever it is? Here's the thing. I listen to those things and I understand why people have their opinions and why people do or don't like the way some of these things are set up, but I don't care. Like if you say it would be stupid if you did that, yeah, sure, it would be stupid if you made the wrong selection too. Everything that you do that somebody doesn't like is stupid. So I don't really put a lot of validity into some of those um, whining and crying and complaining things. So Mitch Osborne, thank you for the $20 bomb. Love the show. Bleeves, keep it up. With cap adjustment, franchise tag of cornerback for $19.8 million. Sure sounded like Poles wants to avoid that and strike a long-term deal. Final thought, I trust Peter King's gut more than Brad Biggs. And you know what? I do too. But you never know what's going to happen. Like that's the hard part is, and I also I think that Poles wants to avoid that salary cap. I think that he's or franchise tag. I really would think that he would want to avoid the franchise tag because players don't get real excited when they get that franchise tag. But here's the thing: that franchise tag could be used for this season, and then you could sign the deal afterwards, and then you can just pay him the difference. So that's entirely possible. I lost you at trade Justin to the Giants. That was not my pick, Fat Boy. That was a bullshit selection from NBC Sports or Windy City Gridiron. They did that piece of shit move right there. However, I do want to defend them and say, if you pick up Daniel Hunter and you pick up Lloyd Cushenberry, I'm now interested and I'm now intrigued. You know what I mean? Like that would be very, very interesting. So Joe Alt was way low. He was way low. Wait, does Fields call his own plays or did Getsy call play? Getsy called the plays. Getsy said that he was allowed to audible out, and Justin Fields eventually slipped up and said, well, no, I'm not allowed to audible out, which is why he never audibles out, was because that wasn't part of what he was supposed to be doing. So there was some speculation about it. And remember, Justin Fields had to clarify some of the comments he made because he made some comments that were a little bit critical of Luke Getsy and what they were doing at the time. Like he was a little frustrated and he wasn't trying to deal with this BS. And look, it's fair to say that Luke Getsy was not the best at he's not very good at calling plays for a running sort of quarterback who is not fully adapted into being the superb drop back passer. There were too many forced errors along the way. But we should also recognize that Luke Getsy had a 112 quarterback rating from Justin Fields in that first quarter. So when I say this, it's very hard for me to say that Justin Fields, I don't think that Luke Getsy did a great job of adapting to the challenges of the defense. And I think that he wasn't good at, well, Lord Crimson says Getsy wasn't good at calling plays, full stop. But Getsy was great at starting games. The Bears were in the lead in most of these games before the defense let them down by lack of continuing to score, by the way. what I would say is I think Getsy had a remarkable mind for finding ways to utilize the weaknesses of the opposing team on his first 15 scripted plays, which everybody does. So I will just say that I think that Luke Getsy is very underrated because we don't like what we saw afterwards because he failed to make adjustments. And then he got into a very conservative sort of play call. And what he was trying to do, by the way, he was just trying to not lose the game. He wasn't trying to win the game. That's all. That's that. The only difference is he was trying to prevent mistakes, and that, of course, in my opinion, created more mistakes than were necessary for this team. If you just consider you had lost the first 4 games, if you just operate from that standpoint, and you're like, you know what, we got nothing to lose. Let's just ball out and let's just air this goddamn thing out and stop overthinking this and stop trying to not lose. You know what I mean? I don't think so. Um, yeah, Peyton Manning did. Peyton Manning called his own plays. Tom Brady also called his own plays in a lot of different instances. You remember they would give him a base play, and Peyton Manning would get a base play, and then they would actually call out the actual play that they were going to run. So there were some quarterbacks that were able to basically run their own. They were their own offensive coordinator, but it's very very few, very few of them. And yeah, that would be fair enough. I need to say this in response to Flus. How many times did the coach put JF1 in bad situations in the fourth quarter? Blame JF1 for the 3 games where the team lost. You know what? It would be fair to say that. That's actually, I mean, that's not untoward to recognize that because that's real. When you look at how these games kind of unfolded, and you look at Justin Fields' quarterback rating during those, there's a couple of games there that just didn't go the right way. There's a couple of games where the Bears just didn't do it. In fact, let's look at these right here. So the first game against the Packers, that was a clown show. We were not winning that one. We did not do a great job there. But that Tampa Bay game, despite that, that was a winnable moment. That was a winnable game, and it's crazy that we didn't win that one. So cross that off the list of and by the way, that's not even the close game. That's not even the close game. That was just one that I thought that we should have won. We should have been a little bit better prepared for it. Now, Kansas City lost, obviously, but Denver, we should not have lost for Denver. We should not have lost against Denver. That was a travesty in every possible way. Washington win was a good one. Minnesota should not have lost to Minnesota. The Clippers, or the Clippers, oh my God, the LA Chargers, man, they were just crushing it. They looked really good. Justin Herbert was having a great game. That was a tough one. But New Orleans, look, you're coaching not to lose. You're not coaching to win. So again, if I go back here and I just say that this win right here, Denver, Minnesota, and New Orleans right here, if those had turned around, we're a playoff team. If this had turned around, this Detroit game, we clearly were the better team to Detroit. And also in this Cleveland game, there's 5 games that we were leading or should have won. There's 5 of them. So you take a 7-10 team, and now you're 12-5. Like, you have the same record as the Detroit Lions, and you have 2 wins against the Detroit Lions. That's how close this team was to, and that's what I think a lot of people are not looking at. They don't see how good the Bears ended up becoming for this little stretch here. I mean, you look here and you look at what they did defensively. 13 points, 31 points, 10 points, 13, 20 points, 16, 17, and 17. Like, this became the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL for the second half of the season. Like, people were not recognizing all of this bad that was happening over here. All of this bad suddenly turned into a lot of good. Now, there were still problems. There were still, and I do say there was coaching, but look, Justin Fields has to own that he hasn't made great decisions. He does have some accountability for it. So we have to recognize it. We have to at least be honest that when we saw, just so you guys remember, and I want to put you back here because I can't really take you back there, but I can tell you when Justin Fields was taken off the field and Tyson Bagent came in, right? And Tyson Bagent came in and he was throwing the ball all over the field. Then I think each and every one of us were looking at this and we were like, oh shit. Like, oh shit, this guy is throwing the ball all over the field. He's quick on his, we suddenly looked at this guy and we were really debating. A lot of people were debating at this point. They were like, wow, if this guy can make if this guy can make reads this fast, why isn't Justin making reads this fast? I mean, there were a lot of questions, by the way. And you don't need me for it, by the way. You can just go back and you can look it up on Twitter or anything like that. It's basically history. There were a lot of Tyson Bagent supporters because they were seeing something that they weren't seeing with Justin Fields. Now, by the way, I do want to add here that given the opportunity, Tyson Bagent did not win that game. You know what I'm saying? Like he did not win the game, and didn't do the greatest of jobs in closing out his season. Okay, so we should recognize that. I mean, he did go 1-2, um, uh, but so not the greatest, right? But he was quick on his throws. He was quick on his reads, quick on his progressions. We saw if we could just add a little bit of that into Justin Fields, then I felt like maybe we could have something better. But then go look at the stats of Tyson Bagent, and you get a better sense and a better idea of what it really looked like. So he was 94 of 143, and his completion percentage was better, 65.7, and he had 859 yards. So his yards per game were 26 less than Justin Fields, and he had as many interceptions almost as Justin Fields, and he only had 3 touchdowns. So, we looked at something on the field and we saw something on the field with Tyson Bagent, but it didn't really add up the same way. And he had 5 sacks. He was also sacked quite a bit, not as much. But look at this overall quarterback rating. We were far superior with Justin Fields at an 86 quarterback rating to Tyson Bagent at 71.4. So there's a lot of these pieces to Tyson Bagent that looked really good, but overall he was not setting the world on fire. He was not. He was not better than Justin Fields. He was not. He was not a better runner. He didn't have a better run average. He didn't have a better touchdown ratio. Nothing was better under Tyson Bagent. But we saw him make those quick reads, and that's really all we've ever really wanted to see from Justin Fields, right? We want to see those quick reads, and we want to see him get the ball down the field. That was it. That was what we were looking for, and we didn't get it. So hopefully, I would love to be able to run it back. I would love to be able to run it back. I don't know whether we are able to or not. I don't know at this point whether or not that's on the table as a thing that we will will we be allowed to run it back? I don't know the nature of the team. I don't know how this is going or how this is leaning or what the next step is. All we can do at this point is kind of speculate, do a little bit of guesswork, and just try to figure out what this team is going to look like next year. But I assure you, at the end of this, whether it's Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, Jaden Daniels, doesn't matter who the quarterback is. This is a playoff team. It is my belief that Justin Fields gives the Bears the opportunity next year to win a Super Bowl because he has the experience. But he's going to have to do better than 53 quarterback rating in the fourth quarter. I give him credit that he's going to get better and that he was improperly coached. Okay. So I think that he was not coached to his best advantage. And if that's the case, then what I would like to see is a much better offensive scheme, much less predictable offensive scheme, and much more utilization of his talents. Like Justin Fields can run for 1,200 yards in a season. Like Jesus Christ. I mean, Justin Fields can outrun everybody on the team and can outrun everybody in the NFL. So, create some schemes by which he has more than 124 carries. I mean, give this guy a 1,000-yard season, give Khalil Herbert an 800-yard season, and then make sure that you have a lot of play action and you have a lot of two tight end sets, and then bam, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, bam, you've absolutely got it. And Kareem, me too. Like that's to me, that sounds like a fantastic idea. And here's the thing: I don't know if JJ McCarthy is an NFL quality guy. I know he won a national title, and I like the fact that he won a national title. There's a lot of national title winners who are not successful in the NFL, so I don't know that that makes a difference. I know I sure feel like JJ McCarthy has what it takes to make the reads, make the progressions, make the throws. But here's the thing: whoever is the quarterback next year, whether it be Justin Fields or Caleb Williams or JJ McCarthy, whoever it is, they're going to have the benefit of a much better team in 2024 than Justin Fields had in 2023, at least at the start of 2023, because it was clear they were not ready to play. At the end of 2024, they were actually a pretty good team. And if you take that and you stick with Justin Fields, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, guys, listen, 5-3 to end the season, and you didn't win the close games that you really needed to win. And I do in many different ways. I still go back to coaching to win games and not lose games. I don't like the conservative approach. I like the one thing that I appreciate and one thing I admired more than anything, and I don't mind saying this, is Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. They were assassins when it came to playing the game. They didn't stop when it was close to the quarter. They didn't stop when it was almost halftime. They didn't stop. What they did was they found ways to keep their foot on the gas and score and score and score until there was no scoring left to do. They didn't stop just because they didn't want a mercy rule or they played hard and they played to win. You know what I mean? I appreciate that and I admired that. And I would hope that we get a team that does the same thing. You know, that's what I think. Um, and look, the one thing I'm gonna tell you two things that really kind of close out this season for me as a reminder of look, I know how good it can be because I've seen it. I'm seeing it on the field now. I'm seeing. I mean, Justin Fields balled out in the last 8 games. He really had a good run. The Bears defense balled out in the last 8 games. Really had a good run. They held people. They I don't think that they were. And matter of fact, when I point this out, it's ridiculous. But you can look at if you can look at Justin Fields' quarterback rating by quarter for every single game, then you'll realize that it's only 3 games where he did really bad that define his entire fourth quarters. Otherwise, it actually isn't that bad. Like when I say that, what I would like to say is that it's great. It's not great, but it's adequate. Like it's good. You know what I mean? Like there's not a fourth quarter problem except for like 3 specific games. And I know that that's digging deep into the woods to find a reason to like Justin Fields. Like that doesn't escape me, by the way, because I am looking for a reason to like Justin Fields. But like in his game log, you can see where his where all of this stuff was. Let me see if I can find it here for you guys real quick before we get out. I think I might have it right here. So let me see if I can pop this up on the screen. And you can kind of see here. These are the quarterback ratings for each one of the games. That's not the advanced stat. Let me pop back over here to advanced stats. And shout out, by the way, to CBS Sports, who keep track of all this kind of shit right here. Player home. And with the career button. No. This might be it. All right. Sorry about this. Like I had it ready and then we got that weird ad. So we're gonna try this one more time. We're gonna come down here and here's the game period, and you can see like this stands out like a sore thumb. 53.4 quarterback rating in the fourth quarter. But then if you start to break down how he did at Cleveland Brown Stadium, if you start to break down how he did at all these different um, uh, in all these different places right here. Cleveland Browns, that last game of the season, 46.5 quarterback rating. Just didn't have a great game. Just didn't have a great game. And then you come over here to this one right here, which is a 58, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you have this one against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But then you look at the passing and the quarterback rating for every other game, really, really good. Okay. So, we should recognize that, there's certain, a few instances here where there was a big struggle, but otherwise, it's not, not that bad. And by the way, here's the weather. When it's cold weather, 94 rating. When it's hot weather, a 90 rating. When it's 41 to 60 degrees, 53.7 rating. So when the weather's comfortable, he hates it for some reason. That's kind of weird, but I think it's an outlier stat. But here it is, fourth quarter, 53.4. So, I mean, you got to call it for what it is. There's got to be there's got to be something better that happens that Justin Fields does. I mean, in the event that there's any opportunity for him to be available, then he's going to have to perform. But otherwise, that's it, guys. That wraps it up for the day. As we get more information, we'll be we're going to be looking. I'm watching the wires. I'm watching everything right now. And as soon as we get some clarity, as soon as we get some information, we'll be reporting it and we'll be posting it out to you. But in the meantime, guys, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming in. That you take the time to come check this out. I certainly appreciate. And we're going to be off. So we'll talk to you again very, very soon.